taking you back 35 years, how was that journey?
And this massive silk garment, it had got stained. So Abuni washed it and just turned it around and kept it crushed. When we opened it a day later, it looked magical in that crushed form. White on white being one of our favorites. White was considered a color for widows. Only widows wore white.
Yeah.
But then we had people like Jaya Bachchan who loved our designs from day one and she wore white a lot. In this world that we're talking about diversity and inclusivity, what's not being inclusive today are brides and grooms. It's the parents' occasion as much as it's the bride and the groom's occasion.
What's your biggest inspiration? Where do you get your inspiration from?
You won't believe the whole year we are sampling. We wanted to do something different for Radhika. Riya said, Sandeep, why don't we do something with painting or something like that?
Beautiful lehenga. It looked like a piece of art.
I've always said that we've set the trends. We don't follow them. It's candid because it's Sandeep Khosla.
Fashion and couture has been one very large part of the wedding industry. I mean, it's something where I feel the largest spends happen and the largest dreams happen. And today, we're going to talk to somebody who's extremely special and has been fulfilling these dreams for millions of brides. I think every bride, when she's about to get married, she dreams of a lehenga, and then this name definitely comes to her mind. So I'm sure you guys must have guessed it, but I'd like to introduce Mr. Sandeep Khosla from Jani and Sandeep Khosla Designs. It's our privilege, Sandeep, to have you here today.
Thank you.
I mean, it's really a privilege. You know, this whole space of weddings has been growing by leaps and bounds, year on year. And things are just getting bigger and bigger. You know, every bride wants to look so good in whatever she's wearing at every occasion. So I'm sure the pressure's pretty crazy on you.
Pressure's pretty crazy. Fortunately for Abu and me, we've got a place in the industry where when people come to us, they come to us with a certain amount of trust.
Yeah.
So we do not have to go through the struggles of a regular person.
Yeah.
They come, they know that the reputation precedes our work precedes what we've been doing all these years. And it's 35 years that we've been dressing up brides.
But taking you back 35 years, I'm sure at that moment when you started, before you reached this point of success where people trust you so much, how was that journey? Take us a little bit about your early days.
So 35 years ago, 38 years ago actually, was even better than today.
Oh, really?
Because the bridal market was big, but there was ghagras were made in Bareilly, commonplace. There were 2-3 brands out of Delhi which sell in Karol Bagh. There'd be some brands out of Bombay which sell, meaning shops, not brands. And ghagras were not designed specifically for.
Yeah.
You could go to a shop and pick up whatever was ready. And also what had happened was workmanship had hit an all-time low. They were done in a semicircular skirt was known as a ghagra choli. And there was very few people were specializing things then. And those were the people who were doing things in real mal, which is real silver with 24 karat gold plated things. Because that's what the Maharajas wore in the past. That's our past
The royal
history.
families.
The royal families and rich families actually wore real gold and real silver as the material that they would embroider on.
Yeah.
Anyway, things had changed. 80s was rock bottom in fashion.
Okay.
Rock bottom in movie fashion. Rock bottom on everything. You know, it was a very commercial, one is lost in that space. You know what I mean? So when we took off, we had that at a great advantage. Because Abu and me, one of our first philosophies was that India had been living in the past. We always talk about India in the past. Oh, this the Mughals did. This the Maharajas did.
So you
this
always revived.
And so we said we're going to revive and reinterpret.
Lovely.
So the whole idea was to revive and reinterpret what was done in the past.
Okay.
And give India, because fortunately in India, we always had the karigar. The craftsman has always been existing. You know what I mean?
It's very deep-rooted in the
It's
culture.
very deep-rooted. And also, they were also generationally,
Yeah.
you know, from the father to the son to the father to the son. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, today in 2024, the same craftsmen are a dying breed because their children don't necessarily want to become craftsmen again.
That's such a sad
They
thing.
much rather have a job of a peon
Yeah.
than work for the
Hours
8
and
hours or 12
hours
hours, 8 and 12 hours and maybe sometimes 16 hours, though they get paid for each shift accordingly. But at the end of the day, you're known as a karigar.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, whereas you don't have otherwise you're known as an office. You know, you're working in an office,
Yeah.
not a karigar. Some people crudely even call us darzis. You know, I mean, there are enough people in the world who want to look down on people and talk
Yeah.
to them
Yeah.
badly, and they say that, you know, designer matlab darzi, artist matlab painter.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you go back
Gaane
in
wala, you know, for a band.
yeah. So that's one
Yeah.
kind of people that
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the whole paradigm has shifted. Instead of getting more and more respect to the fields, respect has been diminished, or there are lots of things lost in translation now.
So when you speak of these karigars and the generations of the team, I'm sure it's a very challenging space to retain staff, hone them, and see, whatever said and done, they don't really come from a superly educated background. So, you know, I mean, of course, they are very talented, they are skilled, but when it comes to understanding what's in it for them, they get influenced very quickly. Do you lose a lot of, how do you retain your, you know, your best talent?
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's more and more difficult with enough poaching happening.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But fortunately for us, as they are maybe educated or non-educated, but so Abu and me drop out from college. So it blends beautifully. But I must tell you that it's actually those many years ago spending time with the main guys,
Yeah.
telling them, go back here, let's do this like this, let's do this like this. And giving them the confidence that you're going to get paid regardless of what you'd make.
True.
Even if it goes bad, it's an experiment. So it can go bad, it can go wrong, but don't worry, let's try the stitch out at least.
You know, I read once, very recently on your post about you losing one of your most senior karigar.
Correct,
And,
that's
you
true.
know, I know that whole day you were super sad. You kept posting about it. You kind of build a relationship over the years,
True,
I'm
true.
sure. So
Yeah.
that was a great loss for you all as an organization. But do you all kind of search for talent? Like, do you really go out and search for talent and get them into your organization?
So, you know, we work with many of them. And this man was very, very special. He joined us when he was very young. And so whenever Abu and me gave him colors to play, you know, around on something which is a resham-based embroidery, and we'd give him a palette of colors, and he'd place them most beautifully in come. So he was really special that way.
Yeah.
So, but there are very few people who are that special.
Correct.
Who
Otherwise,
really,
you have to give direction.
Otherwise, you have to give direction constantly. And so that was a bit of a loss. But he had retired recently because he was old and he was not keeping too well. But anyway, but there are exceptions even today when we see the talent and when we work with, because we're working with different karigars, you know. And then some of them, when we give them something to set and they set it well and they understand what you've given your brief and they've actually improved on the brief, then you know this guy is talented. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And let's hone him in and let's encourage him.
True.
And let's actually get the skills.
I mean, it's all about people management eventually in our kind of business space where you're dealing with so many people.
And you know what happens, this industry is full of poachers. Somebody has a talent, somebody starts a trend, and everybody wants to copy that trend. You know what I mean? It's unfortunately the respect in what we do is very scant. You know, people want to just take the easy way out.
I think, plagiarism in the space of design has always existed without any super norms to be able to control this. And one cannot do much. But I think creative people like yourself and Abu, don't need to worry because you guys create trends. You come out every year with
But
something.
very frustrating.
How do
Sometimes
you
it gets
think?
frustrating.
How do you think of ideas? You know, when you all are working on the season's new
Yeah.
collection, do you all sit brainstorm? What's the process that you
We
follow?
usually sit and brainstorm, and actually, you won't believe the whole year we are sampling.
Yeah,
We're sampling all
Through
year
the
round
year.
and getting new and doing things out. So once the season begins and you know, okay, this is what I'm going to introduce this year, and that's the color palette we'll do this year, then we'll change it to another color palette. White on white being one of our favorites. You know, and when we introduced it, I would say 34 years, 35 years ago, white was considered a color for widows. Only
Yeah,
widows wore white.
yeah.
And we'd done this whole khadi exhibition, which was all white on white embroidery. And you will not believe it, we'd done only about 30 pieces, just about 10 sold, because the feedback was that, you know,
How
do we wear white?
And this was all for weddings.
No, but
I mean,
for general
yeah.
public, to wear formally,
Regular.
as opposed to just wearing it
Yeah.
as just a night suit.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And but people would come and say, "Can you do it in a color for me?" So we said the whole idea of it is to introduce white.
Yeah.
But then we had people like Jaya Bachchan
Yeah.
who loved our designs from day one, and she wore white a lot. And so once we had her wearing white, it almost became a trend. Then Dimple wore a lot of white. So they were all actually. One little secret I will tell you is that everybody that we've met in our life, who we cater to or we make clothes for, have all been through our work.
That's so lovely.
So when we started, we didn't know
Bollywood
anybody.
that well.
We didn't know Bollywood at all. We
Yeah.
didn't know anybody at all. We just came with our talent. I came from Punjab and Abu was always a Bombay boy. And we started working at 20 and here we are many moons later.
How lovely is this
Yeah.
partnership over the years?
Over the years, yes.
So how did this Bollywood angle start? When did it start?
So the first offer we got jointly to do a job was, back then there were these rich women, bored housewives,
Yeah.
husbands say, amuse yourself, kuch
Kitty
paise
party.
le lo, kitty party mein jao, kuch dukaan khol lo. And they'd hire people like Abu and me as ghost designers.
Oh.
And they would take the credit
Their
for
labels.
it, their labels. But this lady came and said, why don't you open a store for us and we'll give you a carte blanche on whatever you want to do.
Okay.
So Abu and me, they just said they used a lot of synthetic material, which we actually edged out eventually. So we said, okay, let's go to the ultimate fantasy. And Abu and me had this shared fantasy of Mata Hari, super spy, exotic. Greta Garbo had done a wonderful job playing her. So it was a pure fantasy shop that we created.
Wow.
And the first person, the day it was supposed to open, the first person who walked into the shop, it was in Juhu.
Okay.
And back in the day, 38 years ago, Juhu was not the it place.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it was
Bandra Jew was yet not the place.
Yeah, it was not. It was just not arrived.
Yeah.
They've arrived only in the last
Yeah,
couple of years.
yeah.
Jew is still arriving.
Yeah.
Bandra is still arrived. And in walked Dimple as the first customer.
Oh, she just walked in.
She just walked in because Abu had drawn this wonderful woman which had been etched out in copper by Ursula Kerker and done. And walked into the store and picked up things and bought things. And said, I want to meet the people behind it.
Yeah.
But because we happened to be close by the shop, we went and we met her and she said, come home. You have to do things for me for film and this, that, the other. So that's where one relationship started. Again, then in walked in Parmeshwar Godrej,
Oh, wow.
who was the socialite.
And the fashionista
of that time, you know,
Yeah.
and even till she was there,
Yeah.
till very recently, the most stylish woman in India, one of the most
Yes,
stylish women in India.
absolutely.
And she loved the clothes. And then it was just, then Jaya
Then
walked in.
no looking back.
And then there was no looking back. And it was just one after the other. Then we met, Tarun Tilyani walked in, who was opening up on SOM. And he had been in school with me and he said, we'll give you a place there in Onsom. So we
Yeah.
said, okay. So we took up a place there and we did some wonderful work there. And then walked in Sunita Pitambar, who was also a big socialite.
Yeah.
And she walked in with Shakira Kane and Princess Ezra, a bunch of these international women who were traveling to India on a trip. Because Sunita was doing a line of jewelry with Shakira Khan. They loved our clothes.
Amazing.
And they bought a bunch of our clothes. Raj Kapoor's daughter Reema Jain was getting married.
Yeah.
Reema Kapoor was getting married at that time.
I got their children married.
Married.
Arman.
So they got Reema married. And she said, will you create something magical for me? Reema had lost oodles of weight. Oodles,
She's
meaning
so
oodles of
pretty.
weight. And so we first created our first mirror outfit, which is
Yeah.
actually Kutch inspired. But Kutch usually does it with multicolors of resham and smaller mirrors.
Okay.
We use big mirrors, and that was the first mirror jacket was created with Zardozi on it. So that's what I'm saying. That was a reinterpretation of the whole tradition of this thing. And we did a crushed skirt. We had done this massive silk garment, and it had got stained. So Abumi washed it and just turned it around and kept it crushed. And when we opened it a day later, it looked magical in the crushed form.
Oh, wow.
And that's how our crushed was actually created. And so it's been a journey where
These
we
are priceless stories. And you know, Sandeep, the best part is, I'm just thinking you create so much, but you've gone back to a story which is 35 years and you know it exactly what happened. It's quite amazing.
amazing, yeah.
You
Because
know?
I've always said that we've set the trends, we don't follow them.
So talking of trends now, as the younger brides come to you, I mean, you've dealt with probably their moms and, their aunts and, the whole family tree. What's the transition and change that you see in the younger brides? What do they really want? Do they trust you entirely and leave it to you? Or you have a bride who says, I know what I want, you just have to create it. And how do you tackle that situation?
They know what they want, then they can go to anybody and get it done. And they don't need us. It's very
That's
clear.
amazing.
Yeah, and so then, thank you very
Yeah.
much. Because there are lots of
You
women
choose your brides.
Choose our brides, because then otherwise there's some people who come whose mothers know everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll come with the in-laws and the mother will be making eyes at daughter. No, 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 no.
So talking of weddings, Sandeep, you also have started designing weddings.
Yes.
Like the decor. And I've had the fortune to work with you at some point, and it was brilliant because in that space there's only that much one could do.
Thank you.
Because there's restrictions in a banquet hall, but
Yeah.
it looked magical. When did this start and how are you pursuing this?
This actually happened by chance during Shweta's wedding.
Oh,
Shweta
okay.
Bachchan's wedding. So Jaya said, guys, help me out. So we said, come on, we're doing it. So Shweta's wedding was planned because it was happening from home. She was very clear she wanted to get married from home. So we set it up as it was just a 2-day event, and it was the most stylish wedding. It was right from, because we chartered a flight for the Barat to come, and right from what was happening on the flight, she got married 30 years ago, possibly, and right from what was happening on the flight, the personal messages by Mr. and Mrs. Bachchan on the flight, to the crockery on the flight, which was done printed
Oh,
specially
really?
for, to entertainment on the flight.
So you planned it like end to end?
End to end, we planned it.
Oh, you're
Right.
taking my job away.
No, we do very little work, yeah. We do very little work. And it was very exciting because design is something which then spreads out its wings into every kind of
Correct,
thing,
correct.
Because it's about aesthetics.
And it has to tie in as a story.
Exactly.
You know?
So it was a royal wedding because we planned it out that, the first day is you're out in the dunes. So this big Zardozi flags flying everywhere. And you were in the middle of Rajasthan maybe, in a garden.
Yeah.
And the next day was a royal tent, which is all Zardozi, done in velvet. It came around really, really fabulously. And that was the first one. Then between that and the next, it was some time. And then we said, it gives us pocket money, it gives us money to spend and buy some silver and buy some
Pocket money.
Yeah. Because we don't do it as
as your full time.
it's not a full-time job. Now, after so many years, we're saying, it's not a bad time as some kind of a job also, Because it's, but like, now what's happening is now tastes are changing so much. And The customer is so demanding, and every day is a new dream. You know.
So are you all, if any client really wants to reach out to you, not only for their entire couture, but also for the designing part of the wedding,
Yeah.
you kind of take that on
We
as
take
an
that on. We take
entire
that on. We take
project.
that on, yeah. We
You know,
take that
you're
on as a
open to
project.
that. Yeah.
And sometimes we're not even doing the clothes for the wedding, and
But you're yet designing the wedding.
And we're designing the wedding.
That's so lovely.
And then it happened. So we did a couple of friends. We did this Hyderabad wedding for Pinky and Sanjay Reddy's daughter,
Yeah.
Malika, which happened to a 7,000 people wedding.
Yeah, that was a
Because they called the
massive
whole
one.
community, and that was a marquee that was put up, which is over
Yeah,
a
they
lakh square
created,
feet.
yeah.
We created everything there.
Yeah, from scratch. It was a barren land.
Yeah. So we actually like to work on bigger weddings in marquees because
Yeah.
they're easier, because banquet rooms are too tiny,
True.
too small, and
True.
you have to make an effort to, if you're spending the money, you may as well have the space
Yeah.
to create special things. Otherwise, it's just about florals. And I must say, there are beautiful florists in India. We don't need to get
Yeah.
flowers from abroad, florists from abroad, but there's enough talent in the country itself.
Yeah, yeah.
But we keep importing things for status.
True, true.
But there's enough talent, yeah.
So, talking of spend in weddings, there are two theories today, as of today. There are brides who want to spend like crazy, which was always the case. But there's also couples who are being very mindful about their spend. And they are taking the route of, let me save this, let us try and work around this. Do people come to you now with numbers differently and say, listen, I can afford it, but because I have a mindset, I want to work in a certain way. Do you have brides like that who come with a plan or a budget, say this sangeet outfit I'm going to spend X, but mehendi give me Y? You know, so do you do that kind of?
That happens. I never discuss prices.
Yeah.
The team discusses.
Yeah.
But yes, there are some brides
they're mindful about
who are mindful about it. And basically, at the end of the day, it's about parents, and it's a parent fantasy to have a good time.
True.
And at the same time, girls are becoming more mindful of not trying to overspend and waste money.
Yes.
You know, because
Yes.
some expenses are just wasteful,
Yeah.
you know, which are not required. But clothes nobody compromises on.
I
really.
agree.
Yeah.
And I sometimes wonder, how do they even store these lehengas? Because these lehengas are just getting bigger and bigger with your trails behind.
And this Cinderella can which is driving us all mad. The bride, nobody can walk within 3 feet of the bride on either side. The skirt is so big. Ours are not. I hate them.
I was just going to ask. I've not seen too many of yours do.
Because then you're sitting like a cake on a, you know,
like a doll on the cake.
Doll on the cake. It's like you're sitting like a doll on the cake.
Sandeep, you've been a part of the biggest wedding that has been happening in the country, and I don't want to really dwell into it much or talk much about it because people are already seeing it so much all over.
Yeah.
But the only interesting thing that I really need to talk is a collaboration that you did with Jayashree Burman on that beautiful lehenga.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot miss talking about that because it looked like a piece of art.
It was a piece of art, yeah.
It is a piece of art.
Yeah.
And how did this collaboration come into place? Like, do stylists play a big role, or is it that you just decide to collaborate with an artist?
We decided we wanted to do something different for Radhika.
Yeah.
And Riya said, Sandeep, why don't we do something with painting or something like that?
Yeah.
So we said, yeah, why not? And let's get somebody like, you know, an artist who does these celestial figures, who's more tuned into that.
Yeah.
And Jayashree was the perfect choice.
Yeah.
And she was very cooperative and she was wonderful. And it was a very smooth ride with her, I must say honestly.
My next question is, what do stylists truly do? Because a family can go to a designer, but a stylist comes in, what's their true role?
They make a lot of commission. They try to promote brands who they like. I can just tell you, on your fingertips, there may be 1 or 2 good stylists.
Yeah.
There are 100 bad ones, you know.
But when should a bride or a family, on a serious note, go to a stylist?
They
when they don't know anything? Maybe
everybody knows everything. Why do you go to a designer in the first place?
Yeah.
If you're coming to a designer, they're not going to mislead you and make you look ugly.
True.
Okay?
True.
So what the stylist brings to the table is just that they coordinate the makeup man.
Yeah.
Okay, but the makeup people are talented themselves.
True.
They've been working for so much. A Mickey contractor is a master.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a stylist, there's Mickey contractor himself
Of
who will tell
course.
you fantastically that this is what works, this is what doesn't work. And he'll do your face up beautifully. Namrata, Soni, Mickey,
Yeah.
all the biggies, they know it backwards, yeah. And so they are going to decide
Yeah,
your face.
yeah.
But the stylist will come with 5 book pages from the Vogue magazine, some other magazine. Babe, we can do this as a look, we can do that as a look, and we can do that as a look. You feel good about yourself. That's all they're doing. And then they hire a photographer for you, depending on what your budget is. It could be lakhs, it could be many lakhs, it could be a few thousand. And then this thing, Joseph Radhik is a wonderful stylist himself.
Yeah.
His pictures are so natural.
Yeah.
Their fashion, their emotion,
That's true.
they capture everything.
Yeah.
You know?
The lines are getting very blurred in our industry.
Exactly.
You know, people are crossing a lot of their core functionality.
Yeah.
You know, a stylist wants...
We're almost over hiring people
Yeah.
just for the sake of paying for some comfort zone, which is not, I mean, if they've hired you as a party planner,
Yeah.
they don't need anybody else.
True. Sandeep, we've been talking about brides so much. Let's talk a little bit about the menswear.
Yes.
Can't miss them out, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big section also. And today things are changing drastically there. Earlier they used to wear the very simple
Off-white,
sherwanis or off-white. But
Always.
today there's embroidery happening, jewelry happening.
So we're actually in this wonderful age where men have evolved hugely.
Yeah.
Earlier you'd have a man and a girl would say, no, he can't dress up. Actually,
Yeah.
even the brides are very restrictive
Yeah.
about, I don't want my groom to be overdressed.
Overly dressed, yeah.
You know what I mean? But today the men are saying, I want to own my own space.
Yeah.
If you're a bride, I want importance also.
Yeah.
We just did a wedding recently. It was shocking. It was a very funny incident. He actually went to the filming company who were filming the Neha was filming the wedding.
Yeah.
And the groom went to her and said, listen, I need importance for myself.
Oh,
I'm feeling a bit left out. Everything's happening around the bride. But what about me? So she said, okay, don't worry.
his entry, his walk.
Yeah. So he actually told Leera and me that, what about my entry? So then we organized cold pyros.
How lovely.
We organized the whole thing because he wanted an entry.
Yeah.
So men have come a long way.
True.
Men and girls are now, men and brides and grooms are competing now.
Yeah, yeah. Competing and
competing. Men are wearing many, many emeralds. Women are wearing whatever jewelry they wear. But nobody's behind. There are very few grooms who just want to be subtle and want to say, okay, I want to be a very quiet groom.
Yeah.
And also now again introduced by the famous stylist is this picture must be perfect. If you're wearing pastel, he must wear pastel, your mother should wear pastel, your father should wear this. It's crazy.
What's your personal take on that?
I think it's a bit tiring.
Yeah.
And also it's not natural. Because
Yeah.
I think everybody should have their own character.
I
Okay.
so agree with you.
And when you look back at your picture, it may not seem perfect.
Yeah.
At least you have something to laugh about.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I think it's each one's wish to what they like, what their
Yeah.
color should be.
Also
Because if the bride decides, then the groom and the rest of the family has to go with that color.
Yeah. What is not being inclusive today
Yeah.
in this world that we're talking about diversity and inclusivity, what's not being inclusive today are brides and grooms. They leave their parents behind somewhere along the line. It's about their party, it's about their friends. But the point is, it's the parents' occasion as much as it's the bride and the groom's occasion.
There's something so interesting, Sandeep. Whenever I meet the couple, I first thing tell them is this wedding is not just about y'all, it's about 3 generations. If your grandparents
Exactly.
are yet alive, it's about them, it's about your parents and you. So the entire functions and the entire experience over the 3 days has to be inclusive. Very few get it. Very often it's shot down
Yeah.
when I say. But I exactly get what you're saying.
Yeah, because suddenly you'll see the dance floor is packed with the parents' generation
Yeah.
dancing, but the bride and groom generation is not even participating.
Yeah.
Which is so sad.
Very
because the
different
music is the
taste of
same music.
Yeah.
but the youngsters are standing near a bar that we will dance post 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, when our DJ comes and he'll
Yeah,
play techno.
it's a bit boring.
Yeah.
And I think a wedding is about everybody to enjoy. So that's the only one thing I must say to the younger generation, that just be inclusive, include your
Yeah,
parents.
yeah.
And like you said, it's about 3 generations, and everybody likes to party and you still dance to staying alive. Hello. Even your generation dances to staying alive.
True.
So does ours and so does the parents.
True.
So
True.
everybody still dances to the same English songs and
Yeah.
the same Hindi songs. We still dance to Mr. Bachchan's Jumma
Yeah,
Jumma.
yeah.
It came out in the 80s.
Yeah, and Chaya Chaya.
And Jaya, Jaya. We all dance to it. So it's not that anything has changed.
Yeah.
It's just the mindset has changed that no,
True.
let's not be participating with everybody.
Yeah.
We'll do our version of Jaya Jaya.
Yeah.
Let our parents do their version of Jaya Jaya. But it would be just so much more happier if everybody did it together.
True, true. And these overly fancy sangeets, what's your take on that? The very choreographed and it's looking like a award
Especially
function.
the award functions are painful. They should just be crossed. You know what I mean? Suddenly fans are appearing, mirrors are appearing. I mean, people are changing characters. People are changing clothes. It's just insane. I
Yeah.
think it's
Somewhere the simplicity of a wedding is going
going
off.
out. Earlier in the day, we had this one guy called Rajinder Master
Yeah,
who would say hila, hila at all the rehearsals. And it was a party which was fantastic.
Yeah.
Everybody had a great time.
yeah, yeah.
But somebody like him gets very little work because now it's more about gimmicks.
Yeah.
What all is coming. It's a
Very
theatrical
contemporary
event.
dancing.
It's become a award show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can I host the Oscars? I'm asking the film fair. I mean, so what level are we going to?
Sandeep, talking of the different kind of art forms in the space of fashion, karigari wise, just give us a little bit of understanding of how in your workspace, in your workshop, how the talent is different, who does what, and just for us to walk through with you on your store and understand.
Basically, all the Zardozi and the Ari work is done by men.
Okay.
Chicken curry, that is our specialty, which we've revived about 30 years ago from Lucknow on pure fabrics, and we are very proud of that, is done entirely by women.
Oh, lovely. I didn't know this at all.
It's done entirely by women.
Okay.
And even the mochi stitch from Gujarat, this what we call, we have a line called Tharad. It's just because it's a little town in Gujarat, which we first went to when we did our first piece. So we call the collection Tharad. But the mochi stitch is also done by women
Okay.
in Gujarat. So Gujarat has got a bunch of women artists,
Okay.
artisans. It takes a longer time because they also run homes.
Yeah.
And so with the chicken curry, it's taken us many years to get it to where it is. But it took us 2 years of fully experimenting first.
Oh, really? So you all went to these
We
places?
we had a center in Lucknow, and women would come with alta on their feet, oil in their hair, and we were using pure chiffon. And the ladies who were helping us, my aunt and
Yeah.
a friend, and they said, it's impossible. It's impossible to do on this fine fabric because it'll just tear.
Yeah.
So because chicken curry goes through many washes
Yeah.
and bleaches. So we said, we don't care, let it tear, and then we'll see
Yeah.
what to do with it.
Yeah.
And literally it took us 2 years of experimenting, and it is our Hermes
Yeah.
bag.
Yeah.
It is our Hermes collection.
Yeah.
We never have enough of it because it's so intensely done
Yeah.
that you can't get enough of it.
True.
And Zardozi is done mostly by karigars which are from Bengal, Bihar, UP. Basically, UP, Bihar, Bengal were the hub.
Yeah.
Bangladesh used to have a lot of people, but then Bihar and Bengal and
UP.
were the hubs of all the karigars. And mostly it's done by all the craft in this country is done by Muslims.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the most talented hands in the country because whether it's a wood carver, whether it's a stone carver, or it's a stone inlay artist in Agra, they're mostly Muslim.
I think, Sandeep, we've had such a great time talking to you. But before we leave, I'd like to know two things from you. One is, What's your biggest inspiration? Where do you get your inspiration from?
Our inspiration is anything and everything. When any city that Abu and me visit, we go to the antique market first.
Yeah.
So it could be an antique object, it could be something lying on the road, it could be a Ferris wheel, which is done beautifully. So you're looking for art, and you're looking for creation in anything that you see. A woman on a field, and sometimes just a tree is
Yeah.
an inspiration.
Yeah.
You know, so we like to surround ourselves with beautiful things.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Always have. It's just been something that we were born with it.
Yeah.
Or our mothers were very good. They ran very good homes and very
Yeah.
tidy homes.
Yeah.
So we were always surrounded by, whether it was a flower, there were flowers were always there. Fresh flowers. There may be 2. Now there may be 200, but there may be 2. But at least they were there.
Yeah.
So we knew about the existence of all these.
You saw beauty in
we were
nature.
we were brought up with everything around us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And were taught to appreciate it. And we learned to appreciate it. So that was one bit of it. Food is an inspiration.
True.
You know, going to those cow gullies, and every city you go to, you also want to experiment with the cuisine there.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's just about keeping your eyes and ears and your taste buds always going.
All your senses totally aware.
All your senses fully aware.
Yeah.
And not just look at a magazine and say, okay, let me just get inspired
Yeah,
by
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Or look at a book and say, let's get inspired.
Yeah.
And we have such a huge past history.
Yeah.
Even if we just go to the States, and when we first did our Bandhani and we left it in the crushed form, you know, earlier all the Bandhanis were all ironed
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So when we first did our Bandhani collection, I'm talking about way back in 88, we left it crushed. And that's how the Bandhani remained crushed for years after that. Now people don't iron it.
Yeah.
necessarily.
Everybody wears crushed.
Everybody wears crushed Bandhani.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it is such a huge legacy of
Yeah. Yeah.
things that we've done, you know, and but like in Gujarat, the widows wear a certain color.
Yeah.
That's inspiration.
Yeah.
Rajasthan wears a whole bunch of other colors.
True.
So the sadhus, my God.
Oh, yeah.
So wherever you go in India, it's an eye opener for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
The south is so different from the north.
So, do you travel often to get your inspirations? Do you get the time? I must ask.
We travel a lot, but now fortunately you have 150 channels
Yeah.
which are available to you,
True.
which are
True.
taking you all over the world.
Digitally.
But there's nothing like actually going to,
True.
like Jaipur is always an inspirational
Yeah,
city.
yeah.
Lucknow is always an inspiration, whether it's
Yeah.
architecture, whether it's beautiful things. You always discover things in
Yeah,
these cities, you
yeah.
know what I mean? And Hyderabad's got its own charm to it. I mean, India is full of charming places.
True.
And I think you don't have to look further, but I think you must travel.
Yeah.
If you're a creative person, travel is a very
It's the best
important-
way to get
Yeah.
your cretivity at its optimum.
Yeah. Also, and stay at a decent hotel. Now there's
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
boutique hotels, and there's so much has happened in the home space at the
Yeah.
moment.
The
I mean,
homestays.
The homestays and everything's getting finer, you
True.
know.
Sandeep, tell me one thing. There is always this little hesitation which probably a bride might have who is can afford to have a Jani Sandeep Khosla, but she'll wonder, oh God, does he only cater to Bollywood, or does he only take care of the biggies? Should I really go? This is especially for the audience who is sitting international, who is in the B towns of the country. We'd like to hear from you. How should people reach out to you all?
It's just very simply call up any of the stores. We are available to meet you.
Yeah.
I don't meet everybody.
Yes.
Because unless they've shown some interest in something.
Correct.
Because I've spent a lot of my life sitting and saying, Sandeep ji, make me a ghagra. You know, we met on the beach. Put a coconut and put a motorcycle. You know, I've been through that also. So, you know, till the time person is sure that they want to work with us,
Yeah.
we're happy to meet.
Yeah.
And whenever actually I've met people, they always say, you guys are very humble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That is true.
You know, and you guys are very humble and there are no airs about
Yeah,
us at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
So it's just that,
But the process
Everybody-
of
the process-
filtering
yeah.
is important.
Filtering is important because you also have to be sure that you want to work with a designer.
Correct.
There's no point coming meeting a designer
Yeah.
and then not,
Yeah.
just for the heck of it.
And sometimes there's stuff available which just appeals to them and they can get it
Exactly.
from your store.
Also, yeah, they can
They
get from
don't
a store.
really need a curation.
But I don't think anybody needs to be scared. Whether it's a wedding where they think that, okay, if they're going to design a wedding, it's going to cost so much, so
Yeah,
much, so much.
yeah.
No, we can do things cheaply
Of
also.
course.
You know what I mean? We may be maximalist in our real life.
Yes.
We are maximalist
Yeah.
in our real life. So we want to put 100 candles.
Yeah.
But you can even do 10 candles which can look beautifully.
True.
But you place them differently.
I think it's more about taste.
It's about taste, exactly. And Jani Sandeep Khosla is an acquired taste.
Yes.
It's not for everybody.
Yes.
But it's still there. I mean, but don't be scared of us. What I want to tell people is don't get scared to approach the label, approach the brand. We have Asal as our next
Yeah.
brand now.
Yeah.
We have Mard, we have a whole men's line in Mard.
Oh, lovely.
And we have a much cheaper brand called Gulabo.
Oh, is it?
So
Tell us a little about that.
Gulabo is more online and
Okay.
the flagship stores in Goa.
Okay.
And one opening in Bombay shortly.
Lovely.
But it's more cottons and rayons and
Nice.
modals and prints and gota and so fun. For your mehndi, you can easily wear it.
Amazing.
Or you can wear it for any other function if you
Yeah.
want to. But even otherwise, every day you can wear it. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
AJSK is every day worn by a few people.
Yes.
Asal is worn by more people. But Asal also is getting more and more popular in the bridal section.
Asal is the...
Asal is a mid brand.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
is the new bridal brand that we're launching.
Oh,
Because
lovely.
We get copied so much. So a couple of years ago, we said, let's do our own.
Yeah, let's recreate
let's-
our own
let's-
work.
Let's recreate our own work in a different interpretation to AJSK. So it's all more hand machine
Okay.
and mix, of work. But Abu Jani Khosla is mostly only hand work.
Yeah, yeah.
And but the tragedy that what we are facing is that very, very soon Surat machines and China machines will take over all the craft.
But there'll always be that audience who
Yeah.
understands quality, understands the, craftsmanship, understands what they are really paying for.
No, exactly. But-
That's never going to go.
But that's something that we have to keep telling people
Yes.
that listen, the real thing is the real thing,
And so that's why this podcast.
Yes.
But
also
with
because what's
this-
happening also, a lot of people are they telling people that, it's all hand done.
Yeah.
But actually they do, one part of it is resham and then they just add some zardozi to it and it's this thing. Because they're trying to be price point perfect.
True, true.
Because hand is going to become only more expensive as days go by.
Yeah.
And
There will be a
deservingly
premium
so.
to it.
There will
for-
always be a premium to it.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, Sandeep. We've
Thank
had
you.
such an amazing conversation with you. We've had some priceless stories. We've had some great insights about fashion. And we've had the best speak about this whole world of weddings. Thank you so much.